Hello world, welcome to the 44th Climate Change Awareness Emergency Rally in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, USA. It is October 11th. Next week's rally will be at 9 o'clock, not 11 o'clock. I've got things to do at 11 o'clock. Today is, as I said, the 44th rally. Gettysburg High School evidently is going to have their second rally at their high school. The high school kids are going to, several of them, I don't know how many, maybe the whole school, will turn out and do their own rally, which is quite amazing. I invite other schools within Adams County and around the state of Pennsylvania to get out and do their part and start protesting, because the kids really have the most at stake. You know, the adults have lived a life, but the kids most likely won't have a chance to live out their whole life. And hopefully they're realizing that, and they get out and protest and bring the parents and guardians into it as well. The fact that kids are doing all the protesting is absolutely ridiculous. It's shameful. Parents and guardians should be out with them or on their own doing things every day, if not weekly. You got to keep the pressure up. This one and done attitude just doesn't cut it. You know, you can't go to one rally and every 5 months or a year and say, oh, well, I did my part. You didn't do your part. Sorry. It's getting too dire, and the price is too high. We're going to have death all over the place due to crop failure, and I'll talk about that a little later. But you need to get out and do your part, and I'm sorry it's hard to hear and all this stuff, but you really need to get out and your very lives and your child's life, or every kid's life. It doesn't have to be your kids. Every child's life is in danger right now, as is our own. So invite other schools to get out, put some pressure on them that way too. Right now, Extinction Rebellion is protesting in London. They've been doing a 2-week rally there, and so it's not only London, it's Berlin, it's Tasmania, it's Australia, it's New York City, it's Washington, D.C. So, their methods are to shut down the towns and block the streets and everything to bring attention to climate change. Because what's happening... Hi, Wilma. Wilma's here. Yay. Got a beep. Yay. Tanya will be here later. Right now, what they're doing is blocking up the streets because they've done all the protesting like we're doing and writing letters and campaigning and trying to contact their politicians. But nobody does anything. So that's their idea, I think, is more correct. They're trying to peacefully protest and avoid massive unrest that's coming. It'll end up being violent if they don't start doing something soon, because crop failure will be coming, as I'll talk about later. Right now, California electric companies shut down the power in their areas because they're afraid of starting wildfires with the transformers and the wires. So over 1 million people are out without power, right, Wilma? 1 million people, something like that, in California. So it's very scary. I mean, I understand what they're doing and they have to do it, but then they lose all that money, which is the way things are going. It's the price of climate change. You go into extreme drought and then you get into wildfire situation. Whatever you're yelling, great. Another know-it-all. So I had family members tell me and friends tell me that my technique's all off by saying your kids are in jeopardy, and they tune out when that happens. But you got to hear the truth and speak truth to power right now. And the science indicates it. Not only are we going through a 1.5 degree increase as what the IPCC is shooting for, a 2-degree increase. We're rifling up towards a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which is totally extinction event due to crop failure, as I'll talk about later. You gotta invite others to come out with you if you're scared to be on your own. Granted, it's not easy getting out here and being by yourself. This is our 44th rally, my 44th, and sometimes by myself in the rain and the cold and the wind and the heat and everything. But the price to pay is very small compared to what's coming for the earth. And the purpose of these rallies is to make awareness, give awareness to other people that are unaware, or even yahoos that yell at you. Even though they're yelling at you, they're becoming aware that there's an issue out there. And they just might open their eyes or close their ears. Otherwise, if that's the case, then they wasted their time in high school. Any basic chemistry student would know that greenhouse gases are a heat-trapping element, and 280 parts per million is a safe zone. And right now we're at 410 parts per million. So we're never going back down again unless there's some massive technology, which won't happen. The only answer is trees, and it will take thousands of years to get the CO2 level back down again, and that's not going to happen. But what we can do is try to mitigate the whole situation and try not to have a totally devastating effect as to the climate change situation that's coming. and it's already here too. Ask people in the Bahamas or the island nations, and they'll tell you it's already here. November 29th is another worldwide climate change strike, so we're probably going to go down to DC if they have one. I'm sure Wilma will go somewhere or have a strike here of her own. Presently, the Arctic has caused the jet stream to become in total disarray. So you're going to have these wavy lines, and instead of being a smooth circular line around the Arctic, you're going to have these wavy jet stream flows. And what will happen is you're going to have massive cold coming down in different places, and then you're going to have giant heat waves going up into the Arctic. So it's a disruptive element in that it does affect the crops, because you might have heat, drought, and then all of a sudden you have deluges of rain, which wipes out the crops. So that's what I was kind of alluding to with the crop failures. You can't continue on this way and expect things to continue on as normal. They're not going to. And if you don't eat, you die. And if you don't have habitat to live in, you die. So this is a serious situation we're in right now. The IPCC, the UN report says we have 8 years to act on it, 11 years, whatever it is, and we don't. It's an immediate problem. It has to be acted on right now, and then every minute that goes by is another minute lost, and it'll take 20 minutes to get it back. So we're really doing a disservice by no one participating, people yelling smarty comments out here and everything. And in 5 years I want to hear them yell some comments, because they're going to be in the middle of it, and they won't be such smart asses. So hopefully they'll wake up to the science, and so far they're not. A 16-year-old girl gets it and says wake up to the science, and you have these adults here who listen to TV and everything, the wrong television, think they know everything. They don't know anything that's coming at all. They can yell all they want, but that nature does not negotiate. Nature doesn't care what you yell. It's going to come back and get you. So the fearful thing about the Brazilian rainforest now burning down is that they're on the equator, and eventually what will happen is they'll get to a tipping point where the trees can't hold out anymore, and the equator will win out with the sun, and it'll become a savanna. And it might happen fairly rapidly, that once they get past 50% burned down or whatever happens, and then all of a sudden you have no trees. They all fail all at once, because they're all related to each other and they rely on each other. So you have a failure of that. You end up with a savanna, and then eventually you end up with a desert. It's entirely, all of Brazil will become a desert because of the drought situation. The weather patterns will change immensely, and it'll affect the whole world. So not only do you have the Arctic affecting the weather patterns, you have Brazil changing the weather patterns. You have the African rainforest affecting the weather patterns when they go. So it's a big problem we're developing, and we're not putting the brakes on. We're going full force. And in Gettysburg, there are no electric cars at all. You see them once every few days, and that's it. So the whole situation is not good. So what happens when you have crop failure then, is I'm saying is going to happen, I think, before 2026, is you're going to have social collapse. You have system failure, such as government collapse. You're going to have to involve the armies. You're going to have wars like water wars, food wars, things like that. And it's not going to be a pleasant situation. And it's easier now to take care of matters at hand and do our best to mitigate. This is like a freight train that's going full speed, and taking your foot off the gas does not change things. That you're still going to have a collision. It might not be as bad, but it's still going to be a collision. The only way to stop it is put the brakes on, full force, and put the brakes on back, or start running the wheels backwards. So, right now the temperature has been, look at this coming out. Look at this. That's nothing but pure oil coming out of that guy's truck. Anyway, so what's going to happen is you've had a 1 degree increase in heat temperature around the world, and the IPCC is saying 1.5 is okay. It's not, because we're experiencing all these problems at 1 degree increase. 1.5 is going to be devastating. 2 degrees, they're saying, is more likely going to happen, and that'll be absolutely off the charts. But the scientists that actually know things that's going on, they're predicting anywhere from 4 to 8 degree increase at least. And once the feedbacks kick in, it could be 12, 16 degree increase. So as you can tell, this is going to be an utterly devastating event. And again, people should be out here protesting. We literally have Gettysburg College 3 blocks away from here, and there's not one college kid out here, not one college kid ever stops and says, hey, I'm going to join you. They're not up on things. This is not a Vietnam awareness situation. They think they're going to keep living their little lives with their cell phones and all, and they're not. And these people 18 to 22 years old, are going to be directly affected to get out and start acting like the adults that they are, because they're living on their own now. They're no longer kids. You need to take the bull by the horns and get out and start making people aware and fighting like their lives depend on it. So next week is the rally, October 18th at 9 o'clock. I'll see you then.